we can have the greatest algorithms and the greatest ideas there, but we cannot do anything because starting with the first use case in AI, it's just so damn expensive to fix the data for one use case. So that's why this entire pyramid of value from AI, starting with the data and really starting with a proper strategy that is put into action and not only PowerPoint, is so essential.
Welcome to a brand new episode of our podcast, Human and AI, Minds, Machine, and the Gradient Descent.
Thanks for tuning in to where we unravel the fascinating field of AI and machine learning, corporate craziness, the passion for human and technology. We are Ulli and Arberie, your hosts for this show.
So, Arberie, super cool stuff happened actually most recently in the world of AI. People are saying we've crossed the Rubicon. Jeff Hinton, right, one on lead and famous computer scientist and AI guru, basically. And Demis Hassabis, CEO of the DeepMind group, actually, also according to Google, received actually a Nobel Prize, even though they are not chemists and not physicists. And that means actually, I think we crossed somehow the aspect where AI, showed profound impact on the cross disciplines. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, that's incredible. Hinton, also often called godfather of AI, was honored for his work on backpropagation, making neural networks even smarter, while Hassabis won for AlphaFold, a game-changing tool in predicting protein structures, revolutionizing molecular biology.
Well, that's the question how we bridge now. That's huge milestones. And speaking of exceptional work, okay, let's come to our guests. Oh, that's crazy, is it? So our guests today are marking big waves, actually in AI, in industrial sphere. Maybe they'll be the next ones, maybe set up for some prizes. Let's see, let's dive a bit more into, Ari?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. First up, we have Christian Zillner, Head of Deployment and Go-to-Market for Industrial AI at Siemens Factory Automation. He's an experienced tech enthusiast, recruiting and enabling high-performance teams. Chris joined Siemens almost 3 years ago, bringing startup experience in robotics and real estate tech.
And we have Sigmund Duell, a Siemens veteran with almost 16 years under his belt. Currently, he's the value stream manager for industrial vision application. Has previously been program director, AI and head of the product portfolio management team.
And today we'll delve into industrial AI, explore advancements in computer vision, and learn about the big trends in AI from Siggi and Chris. We'll also discuss approaches to AI and innovation from both a startup and entrepreneurial perspective. And we'll have a look why democratizing AI is so important. But without further ado, let's welcome Siggi and Chris to the Human and AI podcast.
Siggi, Chris, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
It's great being here. Hi.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And we want to start with some hashtag magic. So what 3 hashtags best capture your awesomeness? And what's one task you wish AI could take over for you? Maybe, Siggi, let's start with you.
Yeah, so for me, one of my most important topics at this point is data still matters, I would say. That's a very important thing for me. And I did a lot in this space. And even in the crazy days of Gen X and Gen AI, that's super important topic still, I would say. Another one I think is AI made easy. So the AI that you cannot see in every day is really the best AI, I would say. And it's also a very important topic of my day-to-day job and also at home, actually. So I think that's 2 very important things. I'll keep it with this. Chris?
Okay, my 3 hashtags are a lot more simple. The first one is hashtag execute. I love to do that. I think hands-on is also what I learned, how I grew up in the startup environment. The next one is be nice. I think still we are in tech, but being nice, work together is very, very important, especially in these times. And I think easy. I think that's a big bridge. Siggi also mentioned it, and we will talk a lot about democratizing AI, make it accessible, and easiness is, I think, one of the main things there.
That's super cool. And what, Chris, would be, the tasks you wished AI would take over you?
As I travel a lot, transport would be great.
Siggi, how about you?
I would really like to have a personal assistant that is more accessible and deeper integrated in my day-to-day gadgets. So there's a lot of them already there, but I think that's still nowhere close to where I would like to have it, to be honest.
All right, so it brings pretty close. Autonomous driving on the one side, the other one's still revamping the copilot aspects, right? Maybe thinking, if you look on the field of AI, maybe in a bit of more application-centric aspects, right? It's amazing how the open source community contributed there. It's amazing how the speed of innovation puts there, right? What recent aspects or capability in the research and the application or showcase, surprised or impressed you the most?
Most recent ones, really stitching together multiple capabilities that AI has mastered in recent months and years, creating human-like speech, dialogue. Of course, the power of large language models, summarizing complex matters and really giving it out in a very different way. And if you look at a notebook LM, it's really amazing what it can do, how you can actually synthesize from a scientific paper around any topic to make something that actually your mother or your father or friend that has no idea about tech can understand, and literally create a podcast from that is human-like. It's really amazing.
By the way, we're still human here, aren't we, Arberie?
Yeah, still.
Okay.
Hashtag be nice.
But Siggi, that's already going into the direction of your personal hyper assistant, right? But Chris, as we're shaping AI in the industrial world, how do you define industrial AI, and what makes it different from the traditional AI approaches?
I think industrial AI is or needs to be industrial grade. What does this mean for us as Siemens, but also in DI, and for me personally, robustness plays a big role. I think it has to be reliable. It is a lot more critical than just giving a suggestion on an Amazon, web page where it recommends you a color of socks or whatever. If you control a robot, it has to be right. And obviously the criticality of this is very different. I think it has to be democratized because it has to be accessible to the shop floor people, to non-data scientists, to the community. And the third thing is that it has to be with purpose, because just if we deploy industrial AI at scale, it will have good purpose in terms of sustainability, in terms of also saving competitiveness of SME companies that maybe do not have the budget to hire a huge data science team.
Mm-hmm. But it seems to be everybody, the C-level attention is there, right? Nobody needs to convince that, somehow AI or machine learning methodologies add value to somehow the top line, bottom line, or how you define it. But it seems to be still very challenging actually generating this value at scale, specific in industry like production, manufacturing, right? Siggi, maybe can you talk a bit about, how do you see the current partner, customer, and organization, company, AI maturity level, and maybe resonating from that, what's maybe the most surprising use cases you've seen, which are pretty cool or somehow pretty unique in these industries?
Yes, on my side, I've seen quite a few cases and topics around the years between oil and gas, process industry, and of course a lot of discrete manufacturing. There's a huge difference between these different domains. In the oil and gas and process, AI already plays a huge role. And since the use cases are quite big, it's very easy to just hire a horde of data scientists and solve these problems in the background and really keep the AI systems running with the help of those people. Now, if you bring this, down to discrete manufacturing, where literally every penny matters and the machines are much smaller, the margins are much thinner potentially, and the amount of data scientists you can put to a factory anywhere in the world is close to zero, you need to have a very different approach to AI. So quite a bit. So a lot of people actually struggle with this topic, that you, in this case, really need to do AI in a way that you don't need to bring the data scientists to it. So that's still a topic. And the key message here is, I think, for anybody in the industry, that especially in these kind of manufacturing, discrete manufacturing, one needs to do AI in a way that it doesn't complicate the already very complex on automation and OT technologies, right? That AI is in a way done that it doesn't add additional skills and requirements on the customer side, but it's pretty much invisible to the customer and adding value. I think that's really one of the key points we've seen and learned, and especially when AI becomes successful, which is really the turning point, that the customer can apply AI in a way that would be not visible.
And adding to this, I think this non-visibility requires somehow standardization, because this non-visibility of AI means that they need to have tools, products, I think a community to do that. The shop floor worker or someone in the OT environment will not create those tools. So the tech community has to, I think, change perspectives and not just develop tools for data scientists or for software developers, but having like the persona of a shop floor worker in mind. And I think this is a big shift for us. And I think it just really scales if we productize or standardize the way how we develop those industrial AI applications.
Can you give a bit of an indication what use cases, just for the audience out there? What kind of, if they say like discrete manufacturing, what are you talking about, right? So what are the typical applications that you see in a manufacturing and production space, right, across a bit of vertical? Can you fuel us the funnel? What is the demand of the customers?
Anything from a toothbrush, toothpaste, making car parts, making whole cars, and anything between, any plastic part, any metal part. There's a lot of different things there, actually.
And what are the tasks there?
It's a lot about quality. Improve quality, do visual inspection on parts. And very easy example is scratch detection, for example, on a body shop. That's a very easy to understand example. But obviously there are much more complex applications where you have a lot of data points and you predict, for example, recipes for different products in order to improve the product quality, for example. I think that's a lot more to add, Siggi. I don't know if you have something in mind. I guess so, but hopefully this is just a starting point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those topics are the most accessible ones. Also to that podcast, many of those topics are very accessible to the human, right? So it's very obvious that you kind of replace things where you have a human looking at stuff and you try to replace it with AI. So anything machine vision is quite obvious. And a lot of the topics that are still done either manual or with classical machine vision, which is either very engineering heavy, and again, that skill is scarce, or it's actually not good enough or could be better. AI is a huge helper and it's very easy to do. And people can very, very easily envision that topic. However, there's also use cases that are not that obvious, but adding even more value in some areas, like optimizing machine tools and the sequence how you would actually machine stuff into a metal piece, has tremendous value because you can cut down, 2-digit percentage on machine time in a CNC machine, as an example. So those cases really always amaze me, because it's very interesting to see how you can actually optimize the process designed by a human, which knows this domain quite well, and then still you can squeeze out so much with AI by optimizing out, the way that this part is machined, which order stuff done, and so on and so forth. So these are things that you cannot even tell the difference. And again, this makes the AI super invisible, to the operator. It's just making this entire production better.
So a lot of things to be, there's a German narrative, right? Optimization. So bottom line, somehow improvement, right? Any great example where the top line, so a bit of new revenue pools generation, being used in the industry?
We do that, of course, right? So, so we add AI in our products and make products in some areas where we don't even, we of course advertise many of that, but in some areas we have AI in there, and you might not even know that there is an AI in there. If you think about some of our products right now that we sell, of course, in the product lifecycle space, of course, right, software-wise, but
making it more applicable to the different scenarios and different applications domains, and with that, you pull the product, probably. All right.
And if you think about
as a feature, as a mandatory feature in a product, let's say, in order to increase the top line.
Yeah, and I think if you just have a look at what happened with Gen AI, it's the interface to make AI more accessible to a huge crowd, and it's the same for us. Like, we can enlarge the target group a lot if we can make it more accessible. And it doesn't have to be the AI product. The AI product can be the tool to make our the other portfolio more accessible, or guide in terms of operations, in terms of engineering, in terms of optimization is probably the most German one, but there's a whole variety of applications there.
We are also recording this podcast in the heart of Bavaria in Munich. What the picture you just painted, Siggi, with AI not adding to the complexity but actually being like seamlessly integrated and invisible, that's a very nice one. And I'll take it to ask a question to Chris. So you also mentioned that the lack of standardization is a problem. Siggi, you said that people, like, they're not data scientists everywhere and we have to like democratize AI. So Chris, do you see like beyond that like other big challenges that companies face in their journey to implement industrial AI, maybe even at scale?
Yes, obviously there are hurdles like with any other new technology. There's usually even bigger companies. I would differentiate between large corporates and the SME environment, because they have very different challenges. I think the larger corporations or the multinationals, they usually put budget on a headquarter team and then they do fancy POCs. They never make it into production. They show it to their C-level and then everyone gets applause and then it's done, and then nothing really moves. And I think the challenge from there, bringing POCs into production, what is the lack of standardization, productization, but also experience. What we learned there a lot, what is very critical is that people don't see AI or industrial AI as or they don't take the life cycle of the application into consideration. So the whole service concept on after you implement it, you have a lot of expectations, but as any other automation application, it needs maintenance. And to ensure this maintenance, you need a standardized way in order how it was developed, in order to standardize the way how you want to maintain it. And that if you don't do that, it ends up in a huge bill. And that's, I think, on the corporate side. On the SME side, it depends a lot on the industry, obviously, but we work a lot with machine builders, and they really struggle in monetizing AI solutions to their customers, because just remember what I just said about the life cycle. The machine builder has the same challenge. They need to maintain the life cycle of their machine at the customer side. So they would need something like a service contract. But the willingness to pay for those standardized machines on the side of their customers is low, because you have a lot of competitiveness. So it's hard for them to implement AI solutions, because it's currently a niche product for them and they don't do a lot of business. So on the other hand, they can't invest too much, and if it's a small business, it's a vicious circle for them. And we have to break it whilst productizing and standardizing, because it will make AI solutions more accessible and cheaper for everyone.
Speaking of challenges, right? One of the main challenges I guess we see quite a bit is AI needs data needs AI, right? Under this perspective, and in unleashing data in infrastructure space, specifically for machine learning, is hell of a ride, right? So, Siggi, maybe from your standpoint, how would you approach it, right? As a manufacturer or production, right? If it would be your own company, maybe your own startups, how would you accelerate the data maturity of your organization in the space?
Yeah, first I would pick a business. I always say data is the new gold. I would pick a business in the space of oil and gas as an example, because you have a lot of data there, and the value of data is very, very prominent. I spend a lot of time myself in this space to clean up data and make data valuable. So in such domains, the value of data has been proven time and time again for more than a decade, as far as I know. So it's really, really strong there. But jokes aside, it's very difficult if you come from an area where data is really not used today. People don't even know what data is. If they have a machine making plastic parts, like what does data on that machine really mean, right? Coming to Chris, right? Nothing is standardized. Every machine may be a little bit different. Finding text there from the PLC, finding text from your HMI or from your system overall. Anything that you produce is not coming together. You cannot compare anything. So finding really a starting point that pays the bill for making a more holistic, integrated data is absolutely essential to sell a story to your investors, if it's a startup, or to your management in corporate, right? So that's really the most critical point, because especially in this manufacturing space that we talk about, we really don't see a single case paying for this challenge of integrating data. That's really the hard thing about it. It's not that you can find one use case that pays for it all and you can integrate all your data all along, right? So my key strategy here would be to find one topic that really needs data, and there's quite a few golden nuggets that we know and I know of, but that we already did, that one can start this journey with, that pays this one part and makes the holistic story work and demonstrate that there's value in the data, and then set this entire topic up to actually grow and add more data to that as you go, and adding more value as you go. So just setting up the foundation first and then building on top of that.
Just enforcing what Siggi just said. Don't forget what you have done before AI. Just think about where it makes sense, where's a business case. Don't do it because of the sake of collecting data. We saw that so often that our customers said, yeah, we already collected a lot of data. Yeah, and what is the use case? Is it even worth it for us as a team to touch it? And I think this would be my approach, just enforcing what Siggi just said.
Yeah, and we see a lot of technical debt here as well, right? If customers or partners, or even in some areas of Siemens, if you say, yeah, we integrate data for some time, but we really didn't do our homework. We didn't find any of those cases that really get a good starting point. We don't start to implement a data strategy. We don't do that. It really bites us now in the age of AI again, because if you don't have that data for AI, we can have the greatest algorithms and the greatest ideas there, but we cannot do anything, because starting with the first use case in AI, it's just so damn expensive to fix the data for one use case. So that's why this entire pyramid of value from AI, starting with the data and really starting with a proper strategy that is put into action and not only PowerPoint, is so essential.
Speaking of startups, so Siggi, now we know what you would do in your startup. And Chris, since you're also from a startup, or you have a startup background coming, or at least compared to Siggi, who's a veteran here. So what are the key insights and approaches from your startup experience that have been crucial for you to navigate the complexities that might sometimes appear in large corporations?
Just to be fair, Siggi has a startup background as well, because he's getting nervous next to me.
I was just about to say, right?
What is important, or what I could take is, don't forget the business side of things, because in a startup environment, you get challenged by VCs a lot more than in a corporate environment where you have a budget and you have to use it. And if you don't use the budget, then you won't have it next year. And that's very different. The second thing is hands-on. I think trying stuff in real environment matters, and don't wait too long. I think we still have a lot of room for improvement there. Going out there, spread the word. And the third thing is where we were forced to, in the startup environment, a lot, especially after US VCs invested in the last startup I've been working in, was having a very clear USP. I think this USP discussion is so often neglected, because it's very, very hard to prove a good product market fit. You have to be out there. You need at least 20, 30, 40 applications of your product, and not just in Siemens factories, because it's always a little different if a customer shouts at you than a colleague. And I think those would be the 3 points I would take away. So maybe that would help.
Maybe come in, Siggi. Any sharings from your entrepreneurial background, right? And obviously, yes, you come in also a bit of US-centric startup culture, but also entrepreneur within the Siemens environment, right? What's for you the most impactful lessons you learned over the rich of experience in pushing innovations along the line of machine learning in the organization, right? What's the main difference, and how can a large organization maybe profit or be a profitable partner, and what's the comparison to the, let's say, speedboat environments of startup cultures?
The most profound difference that I learned over the years and trying a lot of things in corporate, and for those who know, I can really be a strong person. However, the sales force at Siemens is really stronger. So I really believe one thing in corporate is you need to do what the company can sell. So it's very, very critical to really take your sales force on a journey in corporate and develop something that fits to the current state of the sales force and to the current objectives and goals of the sales force and the current capabilities of that sales force. Because your customer, number one, is your sales force. So that's the biggest difference between a startup and a corporate. So in a startup, you would do what's best for your customers and you make your sales force along the way. In a corporate, you have your sales force. And if you ignore that sales force, it's going to be a disaster for what you do. I think that's the bottom line, I would say here.
That's a very interesting perspectives on the two company concepts. So, Siggi, a question to you. So in your role as a value stream manager for industrial vision applications, can you shed some light on what the process of building valuable AI-powered vision solutions actually includes, and what makes it such an exciting challenge?
It's an interesting question from many perspectives, right? So if you look at what we did in the space over the last years, is on one side really leveraging a lot of the IP and the technologies that we actually have in the company and putting into more or less invisible technology backbone around very good UX. And now we merged this also recently with some acquisitions, adding really a lot of external talent, really, really brilliant people that we found, which on its own is its own podcast, I guess, how to select as a corporate, the right people that actually fit your company. So was a very interesting journey as well, and a lot of learnings there, but we leave that for another day. But this entire topic of really finding the right tech and packaging the tech in a way that it's actually for the customers. And we're very colorblind in a large corporate, right? That's really, really tough. So I think that's really the most essential topics, finding the right technology, but then packaging this technology in a way that it's, back to my further statement, right, or earlier statement, it fits to our sales force, that our sales force understands it, and that our customers can actually digest it. And in our case, packaging machine vision technology in a way that actually our customers can use that, and our customers are not machine vision experts. So we're not targeting the machine vision market with machine vision. Our sales force is not a machine vision sales force. It doesn't know anything about AI, doesn't know anything about machine vision, but still we see a very, very big demand of data-driven applications in our market, and machine vision is one of the big parts on this data-driven applications. So for this, making a product, and pretty much a new product category that we now start to do in the space, is really extremely exciting. So if you put that together, number one is getting the right technology in a way that it's digestible for our customers, and then delivering this in a way that's digestible for our sales force, in a way that it actually fits to our corporate boundaries that we actually have.
All right, that means a lot of democratization aspects along different personas, right? So if speaking of a bit of startups, and you talked about a bit of acquisitions as well, right? There's a saying, right? It's a corporate working with a startup is like you have a party over the weekend, right? And there comes the moment of Sunday morning after a heavy drunk, right, party night, and then you look in each other, waking up in the same bed, you're looking in each other's face, everybody, no makeup, no push-up, no, the truth, the bad mouth, everything is hitting on as well. So how did it go in terms of the visual components, on your collaboration, I guess, in the beginning, and then more and more focused acquisitions, like, hey, let's do things together. Can you share us a bit about the past, how it's moving to the capabilities, like let's do something, and let's do something together, not only in terms of collaboration but even more serious?
I think that makeup moment is part of M&A at some point. I think the interesting thing is that I experienced it from two sides. When I was working with Magazino, we got acquired by Jungheinrich, that is a big corporate at that day, and I entered a corporate world, never been working in a corporate world, and it was a nightmare for me because it was so slow, so complex, so process-driven. I didn't understand the sales force, just adding to what Siggi said before. And now that gave me a lot of very valuable experience now being on the other side. I think what I first learned is that it took a long time within Siemens to make that decision. It was also very important to align it with our strategy and really get to the point, should we do this transaction or not? And we're talking about the transaction of acquiring Inspector there. It's a vision startup doing exactly what Siggi said, simplifying machine vision applications in terms of use cases and delivering a product that only requires a shop floor or a OT persona and not requires a vision expert or an AI expert to it, because that is, in our opinion, I think you heard that while we were talking the last half an hour, that is required to make the technology more accessible. What I want to share there as well in this whole process, we should not forget to be nice, to take the change process very serious, because you can recruit or buy or acquire the best talent. If you then lose it, even the people on the journey, integrating them into our world, in the big corporate world, it's a nightmare, because we spend a lot of money, and that is 95% of it is spent on the people, and the rest is the technology and their experience, obviously. I think those are the two major learnings. And for Inspector, this is why did we do it? Because it fits exactly to this, making a technology that usually required an AI expert or at least a vision expert accessible to our target customer profile, which in our case is an OT engineer or an automation engineer. So this was the main reason. Why we did the transaction then in the end.
And Siggi, maybe to you, right? What kind of is vision not already solved, or what typical applications? How do you perceive, right, what the customers can use such a capabilities?
Maybe we should explain vision. A little bit before you get started. I don't know if the audience is so familiar with it. Yeah,
so we see a lot of applications with vision, and when we come to some of our customers, some of them have tens of thousands of cameras already everywhere, right? So they do classical machine vision, putting industrial cameras and then connecting this to systems that do rule-based, understanding if something is black and white, if something is actually, having an edge or not. Some very basic things and tricks that you can do, which are really powerful and robust if they work. But if you have a product that changes all the time, if you have a lot of different product variants, if you have a lot of complexity in your defects, those methods very quickly run into either a lot of cost and production risk, aka you lose a lot of product that may be otherwise good, but those systems are not good enough, right? Or you're not able to find the defects that you want, and you ship a lot of bad product to your customer. So that's pretty much where we come from, and we just look at quality and machine vision there. And with AI, you can now make that, of course, much more powerful and much easier. But now we want to give that to our customers. So today, our customers are doing this mainly either with very, very capable in-house people and staff, or they actually hire externals or do both.
And that's both very costly.
Exactly.
And limited.
Even big corporates, they typically have like one big lab globally. And then now they have a factory in Eastern Europe. They have a factory in South America. They don't have the vision expertise there. And even they may have vision in their lead factories in Europe or in the US, they don't have it in South America. The quality problems are the same. The cost is the same. Of course, a little bit different depending on what you do. But we have learned also the Siemens way that at the end of the day, if you really have the factory optimized to the roof, it doesn't matter where on the globe it is. If it's in China, if it's in Germany, It's the same cost at the end of the day if you really do it right. And especially to some of our discrete manufacturing customers, it's exactly the same. If you can do this at a quality and if you get those technologies applied in a factory anywhere in the world, you can get the same output there. However, in order to do that, you need to make the technologies in a way that the skill that you have locally is sufficient. You cannot rely on foreign skill. You make sure that your machine vision system works on a Saturday evening, where everybody in the world is sleeping, but that time zone where your factory is. So you cannot rely on an external party right now there, global and corporate. Or again, if you have a local partner that can do that at maybe hundreds of kilometers away, it's also not an option because they will not come in time to actually keep your production up, right? So in order to maximize the value on those technologies, it needs to be sufficient that the skill that you have locally is always enough. And that's absolutely key. Otherwise, you just make everything more complicated and degrade your value significantly to the point that it's nice to have it, but it's not really adding value.
And translating this a little bit, or putting it in a nutshell, AI helps us to solve more complex automation processes. And on the other hand, it helps us to solve complexities within building and deploying such a vision system. Because it helps, for example, in, anti-reflection algorithms for shiny products. You would have, there are probably a handful of guys in Germany that can do this as vision experts, but if AI does it, it's more accessible. And that gives you a lot more scalability and a lot more freedom to do it yourself.
A lot of what both of you were actually touching upon, and the conversation up to now was revolving around that topic of accessibility and democratization. And you also already mentioned a bunch of advantages or benefits that come along if you really manage to integrate AI so seamlessly that you don't need all the experts to use it effectively. But how do you make that work? That you, for instance, what you said, Siggi, is like that you make sure that your product, or you speak the same language as your sales guy, or that the customer, even though she's not an AI expert, understands what the product does. So what role do maybe trainings or enablements play here?
I think the best is customer proximity here, I would say, across the board. So one of my key missions in my role is to make everybody accessible and put everybody as close as possible to the customer in a way that actually works, but trains everybody in what our customers really are, what they really want, and what they really do. So really tearing down any sort of ivory tower that very quickly builds up in R&D organizations. So I think that's on point, the most single topic that I would see. I'm not sure, Chris, if there's anything right now that you have on your organization, but I think that's, at least for me, the key learning that I have seen, especially in large corporate.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing on the R&D side, but also translating the complexity to our sales force is important, that they translate AI like any other technology into value for customers. What does it mean? What use case do we solve? How scalable is it? How accessible is it for the customer then in the end? And because if we can do a lot if it's not sellable. Just coming back to what Siggi said, I think 5 times already, this product channel or sales channel fit is very crucial. On the other hand, I think we also have the obligation of taking our organization along this way and pushing our organization to use AI, lose fear, because it will be a major contributor to keep our competitive advantages that we have with our great technology. And the great technology heavily depends on our humans and our colleagues and peers.
But Chris, do you see that capability? So you understood, okay, you have cool cameras and there's maybe some large language model or a vision model on top of that, and somehow it has a nice user interface that customers can configure. Nevertheless, the capabilities and the ability and the mindset on the customer side in order to this is a cool task and this is how I use this IT-centric stuff, right, that translate into a bit of machine learning. Do you see this culture, this mindset, this, I know what forward use cases I can use that on the customer side? Or how do you enable the guidance of, making sure that, they use it, right? And it's not just a box, another box with another IPC somewhere in the lab or a line.
I think it's about breaking it down. I think if you face a new technology, you're like, oh no, that's new. I don't know what to do with it. Let's leave it aside. Let's put the box in the corner and leave it there. No one will recognize anyway. So we try to break down the complexity, and this means in my case as a deployment employee of AI, we're having pretty structured onboarding journeys where we have a kickoff, where we also bring in more personas from on the customer side, for example, the quality manager or the safety guys or the users. Everyone always there's a process engineer, there's a vision expert, but they don't invite the user in the end that works alongside the technology and maybe can manipulate. We even sometimes invite the cleaning personnel that cleans the lens of the camera. So I think, but while structuring this onboarding process, it's important. Another aspect on this onboarding process is that we were talking in the beginning about criticality of industrial AI. What does this mean? The criticality for us is how much control AI takes in the production process. It's very easy to have like an application that just runs next to the normal process, that doesn't have any criticality, just maybe gives some transparency, gives you a dashboard or whatever. Then the next step or the next level of criticality for us would be like having an advisor that shows you, hey, look at this. If you do the quality inspection, the human does the quality inspection and it shows you, look at the right upper corner. There's maybe a scratch in the part. And then the third thing is AI enhanced control, where we really reintegrate and the AI takes the decision, this is bad quality. And then obviously there's a lot of more steps that the AI even reparameterizes the machine that produces, or it would reparameterize, I don't know, the stamp or the paint shop to some extent. But this is the deepest integration and has the highest criticality. So in a nutshell, onboarding is important, breaking it down and having it as a step-by-step process in order to take them along the journey.
Maybe looking a bit more in the future. So it's now everybody single modality, right? Somehow, okay, here's my vision, here are my 1,000 pictures, or maybe in your case, 10, 15, 20 pictures in order to make and realize the application. Nevertheless, the world is moving also in the world of GPT-4. We're talking multimodal, right? We're talking about textual and vision data, right? How do you see it, Siggi, currently? Is that of relevance, right? Is that transformative to our industry, embedding multimodal representation? Is the next startup you're engaging with, something that combines certain kinds of things?
It's absolutely essential in some areas, as we see it already, because you can further make certain steps automated and you can make the technology further accessible to people that would otherwise have to do manual steps and bring domain know-how. So with multimodality, what we see in some areas that you really can cross the boundaries between what humans would do and what actually an AI can assist. Give you one example. If you would set up a system, if you have a multimodality between an image and text and speech, you can actually make the system give even more recommendations, more explanations about a defect, right? So right now, a system would tell you a part is okay and okay if you use some sort of YOLO or whatever, right? Mm. Very straightforward. If there's a scratch, it's okay today with such a system. We don't do that, but the YOLO would do. That's not very helpful in many cases, because why would that scratch be NOK, right? Why would this scratch be actually a defect that is actually a reason for reject? Maybe it's too small, right? What can you do with that scratch? So you can make, with multimodality, a much better explanation for an operator, as an example, what to do with that topic. Can you polish this out? Or, do you need to actually otherwise rework that, or do you need to scrap that? So you can actually add a lot of context to that. Also, when it comes to, failure modes or, debugging a system, you can actually use that as well and actually have, guidance about a complex log file. Say, okay, that complex log file right now gives me these error messages, but if you have multimodality and see the camera image right now like this and the log file like that, you can say, okay, there may be, a loose cable here. There may be actually an issue with some illumination unit down the road or something like that. All of those things you can actually achieve with multimodality, which makes the entire system, again, easier and reduces the entire technology barrier, not to AI in this case, but to the entire complexity of OT engineering that you actually have. So I think that's one very, very big step where AI and especially these multimodalities can help you to more democratize literally factory automation.
Yeah, that would be very powerful and would certainly also help reasoning, even if you're not the expert in that field, just by getting insights into different data streams or data inputs. Actually, the entire episode was already filled with a lot of good advice from you, but we have this final question for you, where I would like to ask you if you could share a piece of valuable advice for our audience. Who are Siemens people, but also AI enthusiasts or people that are completely new to the technology. Like if there's one thing that you could tell them through this podcast, what would it be? And Chris, let's start with you.
The one thing is a tough question. I think I stick to my hashtag be nice because I think we just can handle this as a team. I think don't forget the basics. It's about people working together on a challenge. In our case, it's an industrial challenge, it's an optimization, it's making something better. And this will end up in the end into a more sustainable world, in a more sustainable process. And it can have a very big impact because in industry, we have a lot of impact on our environment, not just in terms of products, but also in less resources needed, making more out of less. I think that's the piece of advice, but you will never make it alone. I think you need experts, but you also need the guys at the shop floor and take them along the journey.
Yeah, on my side, I do believe that system value is something that is absolutely essential to understand and to also appreciate and be humble about if it comes to AI and OT. At the end of the day, AI is just one small piece that makes the entire machinery run better and smoother. So if you are a startup or working in this space, it's absolutely critical and essential that you not only make the best AI tech possible for OT, but if that thing doesn't integrate with your PLC, with your logic controllers or with your HMI that you have there and doesn't speak the language of OT, it's completely useless. You can have the best algorithms there. Nobody will gonna buy it. Nobody can put it into your machines. If your system is not accessible from the usability perspective for those people, it's no value there. So that's why system value and really appreciating and understanding what it means to do OT in your domain. If that is in food and beverage, where there might be some regulations. If it's in automotive, where there's some standards. It's really essential to have all of that understood and appreciate that there's so much technology and understanding and deep know-how about these other technologies that are still relevant, but now augmented with AI. If you forget about that, then you cannot be successful. And the same applies for large corporates as well. They should also not forget about system value and the power of integrating, with existing very powerful products that are globally sold, at scale already, and really make our world run, build all of our cars and make our food in many cases. So we should really make sure that this stuff is interoperable with the existing OT world.
I couldn't agree more, especially keeping that bigger overview, the bigger picture in mind, and being nice. I think those are really good things to close off. And we have a little game prepared for you. It's called Authentic Autocomplete. And we prepared some statements for you, but unfortunately they're not complete, so I really need your help. So maybe we start off with you, Siggi, and I would ask you if you could complete the sentence. So AI is?
One of the most powerful tools if you have the data.
I agree. Chris, vision is?
Fascinating.
That's short and crisp, is it? Maybe, Siggi, technology with purpose means?
Don't forget about your people and be very, very aware of their skills and what they bring to the table already.
All right, Chris, how about what democratization access to AI is crucial because?
This is the only chance to keep competitiveness.
And last but not least, and this one is for both of you, if I could invent one rule for everyone in the world to follow, it would be, and Chris, I think...
I know.
Is it be nice?
We can guess yours. But so, Chris.
The one rule is be nice.
Nice. And Siggi.
It's nice.
The one rule I would actually see for those topics around AI and OT tech would be proactive and don't be scared about these new technologies and embrace them. There's more to come and there's way more to gain than to lose. Just do it in a way that is humble and that actually doesn't, ignore your current skill and your current know-how that you already have with your people and with your whatever you do.
That's a long rule, but it left the boldness in it, right? Hey, Chris, Siggi, thanks so much for being with us, right, on this nice day and recording actually in the Siemens AI Lab here in Munich, in the room. So thanks so much for sharing and caring with us here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. It was really nice.
Folks out there, stay humbled, stay bold, stay committed, and connect obviously with Siggi and Chris on LinkedIn. Be obviously nice, right, to each other, but also to our podcast. Give us feedback, all right, what do you like, what do you don't like, maybe what we can improve. Stay bold, committed, and open-minded, and we'll hear us definitely at the next Siemens AI Lab podcast. Cheers.